Hello team, welcome back. Welcome to our training. And today we will see how we can stash the untracked files in Git, right? So let's go to some basic definitions of Git stash. So guys, basically when we are executing the Git stash in Git, so by default, Git stash will do following things. It changes that have been added to your index. It means it will stash the only changes which is in the staged area, right? And we have already discussed about the Git staged area and Git unstaged area, so there could be no issue, right? And changes made to the files that are currently tracked by Git, right? So when we are executing the Git stash, then basically the stash will work only for the tracked files, okay? Although they are staged or unstaged, right? The files which is being tracked by the Git, right? By default, it will uh, or stash the changes only in the tracked files, and it will not do any stash operation for the following two options: new files, which is added in your working directory but still not staged, okay, and files that have been ignored, right? So obviously if you have some kind of files extension, this is which is present in your uh, .git ignore, right? uh, then it will don't stage these files, okay, and also it will not stage these files which is in your new directory, okay, which is new file which is basically added in your working directory but is still not tracked by the Git, right? So let's open the project and we will see how we can tackle it, right? So first open the terminal over here, right, and execute the Git status. So my branch is up to date, there is nothing to change. I will execute git ls. So these are the uh-oh, ls. These are the files which is basically present in my current project directory. But I need to find out the files which is basically uh, tracked by the Git. Okay, so I can execute the command git ls hyphen files. So these are the all these are all the files which is basically tracked by my Git. Okay. So over here we have the humans.txt, we have index.html, right? We have dot git ignore. So let's open the dot git ignore. Sublime dot git ignore. So basically this is present in my git ignore. So here the test file.txt, right? So if I will change anything in the test file.txt, where is my test file.txt? Let me find out it. Mm, okay. Sublime text. Or there's one other option, asterisk dot log. It means there is a one log file access dot log. That's the reason when I added the log file in the last lecture that it was not showing in your when I execute the git status, because the dot log extension file is being added in my git ignore. It means all the files which have the dot log extension, ignore them, okay, don't do anything with them, right? So these are the files which is basically present in my git ignore. So if I will do any change in my access.log, because .log extension is added in my git ignore, so basically they are ignored. They git will ignore these files. So if I will do any change in this access.log file, although this is being tracked, I can see git status, sorry, git ls hyphen files is being expressing this particular file. It is showing this particular file. Why it is showing this particular file? Because in the last, after the last lecture, I have added this forcefully, right? But if I will do any change in this access.log file, so git stash will not track it. And additionally, the file which is not present over here, git stash will also not track that or stash that particular file. Okay, so let's clear the console and take a practical example. So suppose I'm going to modify humans.txt, right? And over here I mentioned some changes and say adding important notes on git stash, right? I save it, quit, close. Git status. So it is saying changes not staged to commit. Modified files human.txt. Right? Now what I will do? Suppose I'm going to add a new file. Okay, I will add a new file. So I will say sublime and a new file dot txt. Right? And over here, suppose I'm mentioning some comment, adding new file and git project. This file is still not tracked by git. Right? I close this, save it. Right? I will do ls. So you can see over here the file which I just created, a new file should be present over here. Yeah, a new file txt is present over here. Right? And if I will execute a command git ls files, so the same file is not basically showing over here. A new file.txt is not showing here because I didn't added that. Okay, I didn't added that file in the git. So if I will execute the git stash, okay, it is saying saved working directory and index state WIP on master. Right? And after this, if I will say git status, wow, it is still showing a new file is being added. It means, what does it mean? It means this particular file was not staged by the git because I have done changes in the human.txt as well, but this is not present over here. The only file what I'm getting after the git status, which is a new file. And we have seen already in the last lecture, git stash will basically save all the files and revert them from the working directory, but this particular file is still untracked and present in my working directory. Then it means git stash basically not containing or not basically identifying or not stashing that particular file. So how can we do that? Right? How can we do that? This is the question. Right? So we can stash the untracked files by a command git stash hyphen u, means untracked. Press enter. It is saying saved working. Okay, list git stash list. See, two stashed over here. And if I will execute git status, then it is saying your branch is up to date. Right? So this way we can basically we can stash or the untracked file as well by the hyphen u. Right? Now let's see how we can basically stash the files which is present in the git ignore. Right? So open the sublime text and open the access.log because I know log file is not being tracked by the git, and over here adding a comment, adding git ignored files in git stash. Right? Save, close, quit. Git status. Modified access.log file. Right? Now how can I access stash it? So git stash hyphen a. Hyphen a means all files. Okay, if you will use hyphen a, it means all files. All files means all files. Right? Press and it is saying stash logs. Right? Git stash list. See, there are three stashed over here. Right? If I will execute git status, it means git master branch, your branch is up to date. There is nothing in my working directory. Right? Clear. Now I'm going to show you some express command to stash the changes and apply these changes on your working directory. Right? So in the previous lecture we have seen the git apply and the git drop. But there was two command. Now we want to execute all the stashes in a single command. So there's a new command, git stash pop. It means popping. It will pop all the stashes, okay, and include them in your working directory. Press enter, and it is saying on your branch up to date changes not staged to commit, right? And dropped this one, right? Dropped this particular stage. So basically, it is picking when I am executing the git stash pop, it is picking up the last stage, okay, the last stage, and we know very well last stage we have executed for the git log, right? So it is added over there. Once I again execute it, so it picked the new file txt and access log, and you can see the id is different. This id is different than this id, right? So it stashed the next stage, right? What I have done before the log, right? If I will execute and dropped it, okay, it included it in my working directory and dropped it, okay. In the apply, first we need to apply and then drop, but it is doing it by itself. And if I will execute git stash list, so there could be only one stash present, right? And I will execute again the pop. See, it is dropped that one as well, 271, right? So there will clear and execute git stash list. So there is no more stash, right? Because I have executed the pop command 3 times for three different tests. Okay, how we can do it in a single command? We will see this in the in the coming tutorial, right? In this particular tutorial, we are learning about the untracked files and the ignored files. Now, if I will execute git status, see it is saying two file is modified and new file is being added, right? I will say git commit -am and say example git pop, right? Execute git status. Okay, I need to git add. I need to execute the git add so that add that particular file and again execute the commit again, right? Git status. Yeah, my branch is up to date, right? Now what I need to do, I need to pull my changes, sorry, push my changes. Git push origin master, right? And it will push all the changes that I have done in my directory on my remote directory, right? Again execute the git status and my branch is up to date with my remote directory and there is no more changes. So this is the way, guys, this is the way how can basically you track or you stash the untracked files and the ignored files in git. In the coming tutorial we will see how we can basically apply the multiple stash in a single command, right? So thank you guys.